Good morning. Wonderful, wonderful, magnificent Monday to you all. To you all. Yes. All right. Oh wait, I have to turn off the audio in Pal Talk. Otherwise, I'm hearing myself twice. There we go. All right. Okay. This is exciting. This is exciting. I have been I've decided, for those of you who don't know, I've decided after years of talking about it that I was going to do a something on A Course in Miracles meets Science of Mind. When I was first introduced to, okay, let's start with, I was introduced to the course back in 1992 via Marianne Williamson. I read Return to Love, and all she talked about was, the story. She talked about this course. I purchased the course. I didn't have anyone, I didn't know that there was anyone else in the world who was aware of what I was aware of, because I was always that one that was different in my life. You know how that goes. That one who was always seeking, always searching, um, always questioning. So I found the course, on my own by myself. Didn't have the nerve to tell anybody. I couldn't tell them that, because what would they say, that I was a pagan or a heathen? Ah, how funny is that? When we realize that the definition of a pagan is simply one who it doesn't believe in traditional Christianity or Judaism or Islam, yeah, um, and that's all. And if you celebrate any of the holidays, Christmas particularly, anything along there, using a wreath or Yule logs or anything like that, then you're using um, a lot of those things that came out of paganism. But that's not why I'm here today. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I am, as I said, I wanted to just talk about A Course in Miracles meets Science of Mind. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. No, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. Let's see.
Okay, so I will stop. I thought you wanted me to share the screen for Pal Talk. So that's
Okay,
why I put Pal Talk in there. But I
okay.
will make you the co host, and now you can share the screen. Okay, so
Oh,
that's what you wanted to do, for you to share the screen. So there you go.
yes, because those are my notes. Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate that. Okay. Um, so we are talking about A Course in Miracles meets the science of mind. And I was looking at a little bit of the history, um, in terms of Ernest Holmes and Helen Schuckman, just that part of it. That Ernest Shurtleff Holmes was born in 1987, and he made his transition, physically incarnated. Let's go that way. He physically incarnated in 1887 and made his transition in 1965, in 1960. In 1960. Um, it doesn't matter when Helen Schuckman was born. It doesn't matter when she made her transition. What's important as far as the course is concerned is that she began hearing the words of the course in 1965, just for history's sake. I'm that person who wants to go into, I want to know as much as I possibly can. And I figure if I know it, then, you might want to know it too. So I'm sharing it. Um, The key is that anything in purple, I think I got it all right today. We'll see. Anything in purple is coming from religious science, science of mind, or from the science of, not necessarily from the science of mind textbook, but from religious science. And anything in blue is from A Course in Miracles. And um, A couple of my favorite quotes from Ernest Holmes: to learn how to think is to learn how to live. The course teaches an untrained mind can accomplish nothing. And we're reminded that the course is a course in mind training, and all learning involves attention and study some level. And I will say that every week. That part of it, I'm going to say every week. To learn how to think is to learn how to live. An untrained mind can accomplish nothing. So as I was thinking about how I wanted to go about doing this, um, I couldn't decide if I wanted to start with, attempt to go with the 50 miracle principles and and show the support of that in the core in science of mind, religious science, or the other way around. And I'm still betwixt and between on that. I am more familiar in terms of time spent and studied with the course than I am with science of mind. But thanks to uh, Kindle, I can find almost anything. It's just the time involved, time involved, of course. And I'm just coming off of the last of what I'm trusting is a my body experiencing cold symptoms. Voice still isn't all the way there, but it's coming. It's coming. Um, and I'll mention here that on Thursday, I was exposed to someone who has COVID, but I didn't know that until Sunday. So waiting until tomorrow to attempt to get tested because I read that I should wait 5 days for that. So I'm trusting that all is well. All is well and unfolding as it should. Um, I know that I am not a body. I know that I'm free. I know that I'm still as God created me. I am not this body. Um, and from that, let me say, from Science of Mind, we must understand that Christ is not a person, but a principle. As the human gives way to the divine in all people, they become the Christ. The Course teaches us that the Christ in you inhabits not a body, yet he is in you. The Christ is not a person. We're not talking about Jesus, although a lot from the teachings reference the Bible. Both of them do, as most of them do, actually. Most of the teachings, um, uh, The Infinite Way with Joel Goldsmith also, and so many of the other um, wonderful writers. Truth is truth across the board, and that's important to know. What I am going to share first, to get it out of the way, are the declaration of beliefs that Ernest Holmes. I'm going to go that way. And week by week, I'm going to, break these down a little bit more. But I would like to introduce the Declaration of Beliefs by Ernest Holmes. Some may seemingly not agree with the course. Some may agree with the course. I'm not attempting to do a debate or anything like that. Not at all. Where it applies, take it. Where it doesn't, don't. In the 12-step program, they say take what you need and leave the rest. Uh, the course reminds us that there is no universal theology, but the truth is going to be true across the board, and it proves itself. Anyway, the Declaration of Beliefs by Ernest Holmes first appeared in the magazine that he started back in 1927. And they read thus: I believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. And I'll explain this later. I believe in the incarnation of the Spirit in all, and that we are all incarnations of the one spirit. Of course, that's capital O, capital S, one spirit. I believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. I believe that heaven is within me and that I experience it with a capital I, to the degree that I become conscious of it. I believe the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. I believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. I believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. That just brought a passage from the Course to me. Anyway, I believe in the direct revelation of truth through my intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. I believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind. And all these words, universal spirit, capital letters, capital U, capital S. I believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, capital U, capital M, which is the law of God, and that's law with a capital L, and that I am surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of my thoughts and acts upon it. I believe in the healing of the sick through the power of the mind. And of course, the Course reminds us we're not talking about physical healing. We're not talking about that. You know we're not. I believe in the control of conditions through the power of the mind. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. And those words, goodness, loving kindness, and givingness, are all capitalized. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. I believe in my own soul, my own spirit, and my own destiny, for I understand that the life I live is God. Amen. And so it is. And that's how Ernest Holmes, this was what he believed. And in religious science, science of mind, we use these as our declaration of beliefs. This is what we use. Just saying. The other day we were in the we were here on Saturday, and rather not Saturday, Friday. We were reading Joel Goldsmith's Living the Infinite Way. And now there may be times when I may bring some of Joel's teachings into this, some of his writings into this, because they absolutely apply. And Joel Goldsmith's book is written, God is the only life, the only love, the only substance, and the only supply, which of course is, okay, every time you reach out to truth, I'm just going to read, because I'm thinking and talking, reading at the same time, thinking and reading at the same time. Every time you reach out to truth with a capital T, someone is laying down his personal sense of life in the realization that his life, being God's life, is your life. Your life, being God's life, is his life, and it is one life. And Ernest Holmes writes, it is not enough to say there is one life, and that life is God. We must complete this statement by saying, that life is my life now, because we must couple this. We must couple this life, capital L life, with ours in order to express it. We are not becoming this life, but are now in and of this life. There is no other life. God is not becoming. God is. And I think that is just phenomenal understanding and description on both parts of what we know from the Course, that there is only one life, that I am what God is. There is one life, and that I share with God. Workbook lesson 156. There is one life. Well, I just had that on the screen. Oh, this screen sharing thing is fun. Um, uh, Workbook lesson number 156 is I walk with God in perfect holiness. And in paragraph 2, it states, there is one life. That life you share with him, and nothing can separate. Rather, nothing can be apart from him and live. There is one life. Workbook lesson 167. There is one life, and that I share with God. So, going back, I'll be back to this. I will be back to this because that's a key reference point. Please bear with. Ah. So, in the Declaration of Beliefs, I'm going to look at the first one. Excuse me for a moment. Okay, we try this again. Now is not the time that my nasal passages should decide they want to drain, but now is the time that my nasal passages are continuing to drain. And so it is. I will share my screen again. Going back to the Declaration of Beliefs, I'm looking at the first one. I believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. The Course teaches us that God is not symbolic. God is fact. A self-existent cause. The second part of this, okay, so my notes are a little foggy, and that's okay. I'm going to come back. I may or may not come back to that. I don't know. Right now, I'm just trying to check my notes and make sure that they're, since I have it on the screen, you need to see what I intend for you to see. Um, the second part of that declaration is that this one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. Is not absorbed by its creation. And the Course teaches us that the Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but the Holy Trinity itself is one. One, one, one. And I'll say that a lot because we keep forgetting. We keep forgetting, and we keep forgetting that there is no separation. We say it, and then we find ourselves in a situation where we're calling it that versus this. That thing over there that's not right versus this thing over here that is. God working, moving through this, that, moving through this, but not that. We do it all the time. This one, that declaration begins, I believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. One. One. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by it. And the Course teaches if all his creations are his sons, every one must be an integral part of the whole sonship. The sonship, in its oneness, transcends the sum of its parts. All his creations are his sons. One, not absorbed by it. That means I alone cannot refer to myself as the all. However, everything that is the all is what I am. Like the ocean. I'm a drop in the ocean, and everything contained in the drop is what's contained in the whole ocean. Clearly, I'm not trying to usurp the power of God. The Course talks about us that the ego thought system tries to usurp the power of God, tries to make itself the all, believing that it is all and alone. But of course, that's impossible. That's absolutely impossible. It's absolutely impossible. But understanding that there is nothing outside of me, the Course reminds us of that. And from Workbook Lesson 222, says that God is with me. I live and move in him. God is my source. He is my source of life, the life within, the air I breathe, the food by which I am sustained, the water which renews and cleanses me. He is my home, wherein I live and move. The spirit which directs my actions offers me its thoughts. And that's from Workbook Lesson 222 of the Course. I'm going to read just a little bit from Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. Just a little bit. And the page I was going to read from is not in front of me. But okay, here we go. We'll talk about what is the science of mind, which really wasn't what I had planned to read. Okay. The science of mind is an outgrowth of the spiritual faith which people have had throughout the ages. Before science was conceived, the presence of God was felt. Before ever mental actions or reactions were analyzed, history was filled with instances of men and women who had experienced God. Ernest Holmes continues to write, the mental experience of the universal universe, the mental experience of the invisible universe is as old as the history of man. It is new in that for the first time in history, and this is his writings, we have put together all findings which contribute to the establishment of man's relationship to the universe, to the end that he may be able to apply his spiritual understanding to the everyday problems of human life. An untrained mind knows nothing. The science of mind is built on the theory that there is one infinite mind, and that's capital letters, capital O, capital I, capital M, that there is one infinite mind, which of necessity includes all that is. Whether it be the intelligence in man, the life in the animal, or the invisible presence, which is God. In it, we learn to have a spiritual sense of things. This spiritual sense of things is what is meant by the consciousness of Christ. And that explains for me from the Course that everything I see is God because God is in my mind. But what I see with this physical eye are the tangible effects in front of me. And that's what this is. This is what's saying to me. This is how I understand it. And I would love for anyone who would like to, who may be listening, to come and share. If they have a different thought, idea, opinion, I would love to hear it. Or the same idea, opinion. I would love to share. Because personally, I don't just doing this the whole thing by myself. It feels like I'm doing this whole thing by myself. And I would love to, and I intend, as time goes on, to invite other people who are students of science of mind to give their piece on their understanding of this and how it relates to A Course in Miracles. So I'll repeat that. The science is based on a theory that there is one infinite mind, which of necessity includes all that is. In it, we learn to have a spiritual sense of things. This spiritual sense of things is what is meant by the consciousness of Christ. To be able to discern the spiritual idea back of its physical symbol is to use the mind that Jesus used. And is that not what we're doing? We're seeking to look beyond the body, to look beyond the effects, beyond what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and recognize that behind all that is the intangible, as the declaration said, that one indestructible, self-existing cause with a capital C. The science of mind is intensely practical because it teaches us how to use the mind principle, capital M, the mind principle, for definite purposes, such as helping others. I'm just going to be short here. Each one of us should learn to become a practitioner, what the Course calls miracle workers. Each one of us should learn to become miracle workers because it teaches us how to use the mind principle. Nope. I'm reading it. Each one should learn to become a practitioner of the science, a demonstrator of its principle, a conscious user of its power. Power always exists, but the existence of power is of no particular value to us until we use it. So I can go about, talking about the goodness of God and the beauty of life and how wonderful it all is, that in truth, that it's all good and it's all God. And I can talk all that talk I want. But if I'm saying that I hate you, or that's wrong, or that's bad, or you deserve correction. Ah, that's the famous one. That that I'm right and you're wrong, and that you deserve to be corrected. Then I'm putting myself in a position to just be of no integrity. I'm basically saying that I don't believe what I am saying. The Course reminds us that there is no law but God's. No, before I do that, I'm going to go into metaphysics. Um, it's a term used, not in the Course, I don't believe. Um, the metaphysics, which is what it all is. It's all metaphysical, because metaphysical means beyond the physical. It's just, I used to think that word was so woo woo. Oh, metaphysical. Oh my God, what is that? That's spooky stuff. Um, but the, but I'm laughing at myself now, remembering how I used to be so afraid of words like that. Metaphysics, metaphysical. What is that? Ooh, that's not God. What is that? So science of mind teaches, because it is science, it's actually religious science is basically saying that God can be proven. That's really all it's saying, that God can be proven. And we know that. We know that all the time. We know that. Ernest Holmes writes, whatever the nature of any principle may be, insofar as it is understood by anyone, it may be understood by all who take the time to investigate. This does not require an unusual degree of intelligence, but rather a practical application of what we now know in order that we may increase our knowledge. The study of the science of mind is a study of first cause. That's God, capital F, capital C. First cause, spirit, mind, capital M, or that invisible essence, capital E, that ultimate stuff, capital S, and intelligence, capital I, from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. I'll reread that without saying all that capital stuff. The study of the science of mind is a study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. It may seem as though, in dealing with metaphysics, that we are dealing with something that is too abstract. But what is tangible other than results? Principles are forever hidden from our eyes, and that's important. We don't see God, we see the effects. We don't see love, we see the effects. We don't see peace, we see the effects. We see it in our minds, we see what we want to demonstrate. But what we're demonstrating are effects. So principles, continuing with the reading, are forever hidden from our eyes. We accept the deductions of science insofar as they are proved, and we recognize and we recognize that they are built upon immutable but invisible principles. Universal principles are never respecters of persons. The universe has no favorites. And of course, teaches us that the Holy Spirit knows no one is special. No one is special. Universal principles, spiritual principles are never respecters of persons. So this is the simple meaning of true metaphysical teaching. Study of life and the nature of the law, governed and directed by thought, always conscious that we live in a spiritual universe, that God is in, through, around, and for us. And the Course teaches all miracles mean life, and God is the giver of life. Capital G, God is the giver of life. His voice will direct you very specifically. You will be told all that you need to know. The study of life and the nature of the law, governed and directed by thought. You will be told all that you need to know. And Ernest Holmes continues that there is nothing superficial about the study of life. And by the way, life here is capital L. From the metaphysical standpoint, that which today seems to be supernatural, after it is thoroughly understood, will be found spontaneously natural. And we have to remember, this was written in the 1920s. So what seems perfectly natural, we don't even think of supernatural when we talk about the Course. We don't think of God as supernatural. We know that God simply is as natural as our breath. And we know that. I appreciate, as I am reading for the purpose of explaining, combining, meeting ACIM to Science of Mind, how things that didn't stand out to me before from one area or another are now so much clearer. They seem so much clearer. I spend a great deal of time studying because the Course teaches that that's how the teacher of God should spend their day. And I cannot call myself a practitioner if I don't practice. The Course teaches that the habit of engaging with God, the habit of engaging with God, the habit of engaging with God is easy if we refuse, actively refuse, actively refuse to let our minds slip away. For me, in a lot of the cases, the only way to do that is to continue studying, because my thoughts will take me to places that are not healthy. And I appreciate having this Course, and I'm reminded that, an untrained mind knows nothing. I appreciate having these courses of study to keep me, to keep me, to keep me. So I was going to read about that there are no laws but God. So since the Science of Mind talks about these laws, we have these spiritual laws, and the Course reminds us that there are no laws but God's. I'll share my screen again. And just so you know, I'm actually working on my notes as I'm going along here. I wrote in the beginning that if it was purple, it would be Science of Mind. If it was blue, it would be A Course in Miracles. And I'm looking at pages like, oh, there's all black. No. Um, there are no laws but God's. That's from Workbook Lesson 76. To this law, Ernest Holmes writes, there is neither great nor small. It is always responding to us by corresponding with our mental attitude toward it. And we know that A Course in Miracles teaches that our mind, our thoughts are images that we make, outward expressions of our inward condition. So to this law, there is neither great nor small. It is always responding to us by corresponding with our mental attitude toward it. Our mental attitudes can be consciously controlled. Therefore, we can always make conscious use of the law of good, and that's law with a capital L and G with a good with a capital G. The law of good, which is always the law of God, recognizing that it really is all good. What can you not accept if you but knew that it's all of it, gently planned by one who only wants our good. Period. Only remember, Ernest Holmes continues, we are surrounded by a universal subjectivity. That is receptive, neutral, impersonal. Is not that what the Course teaches us? Neutral. We don't see neutral things, but lesson 1, nothing I see means anything. It doesn't mean anything. In and itself, it is neutral, but there is nothing in and of itself. But it's all neutral ground. We give it the meaning that it has for us. Lesson 2. We are surrounded by a universal subjectivity. That's a capital U, capital S. That is receptive, neutral, impersonal, always receiving the impress of our thoughts, and that has no alternative other than to operate directly upon us, thus creating the things that we think. And the Course teaches that there are no idle thoughts. All thinking produces form at some level. And I bring this up. This is important. This is important to me because in the Course, no, not in the Course students talk about this isn't real and that's not real. And granted, in terms of the definition of reality, which I brought up last week from Science of Mind and from the Course, what's real is the intangible. Clear on that. Clear on that. But for those who are watching this on Zoom or watching this on YouTube, or will be watching this on YouTube, or for those who are hearing me in the Pal Talk room or on this or streaming it, what you're hearing is a voice of tangible from a physical body. You're hearing a voice or you're seeing a body. All thoughts produce form at some level. I cannot deny, and the Course says we cannot deny. To try to deny this tangible stuff is a very unhealthy form of. It's a very unhealthy. It's not constructive. So while I understand that none of it is permanent, this is the bottom line of it for me. It's just not permanent. But this is my world. This is my world. My world right now is just me looking at myself and the ACIM Gather logo, which at this moment for me is quote, quote, real, temporarily so. Temporarily so. Because when it's passing, it continues to pass, and that's what makes it not real. But to use all the jargon, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, herein lies the peace of God. People, I remember when I used to say it, and it had no meaning to me whatsoever. I didn't understand what I was saying. Nothing real means nothing temporary. I'm sorry. I rephrase that. That's a mistake. What's real is what's permanent. What's real has permanence. What exists to exist is to have permanence. And that can't be threatened. And that's spirit. That's only spirit. That's beyond the physical. Nothing real can be threatened. What I am in truth can't be threatened. This computer that I'm talking on right now can fall over and crack and all that. It's not real. The fact that even my body is doing what it's doing, 1 minute I'm not talking, 1 minute I'm coughing, 1 minute I'm not. It's not real. This cold that my body has been experiencing, it came and it will go. It's not real. Cannot be, but what's real, the essence of what I am, cannot be threatened. It can't be threatened. But I'm not going to deny I take this computer almost everywhere I go. If I'm traveling, need to travel somewhere, I take it with me. It means a lot to me. I've given this thing meaning. It gives me a way to communicate. My telephone. I listen to I stream ACIM gather radio through my phone, which comes through my car. Oh, these things have meaning to me. So I'm not going to deny car. I'm not going to deny a phone. I'm not going to deny the computer. I'm not going to deny this body. What I will deny is that it's forever, because it's not. It's not. It came in, it's going out. And I'm clear on that. I'm clear on that. I am so clear on that. And herein lies the peace of God. That's where I get my peace. Even this little puppy who is, I just have to do this. He's, look, under there. And notice he's right behind me. It's his hangout. But on June 13th, he showed up. On June 13th, he earned the name Lovable. And a day will come. I don't know, because it's all temporary. I'm clear on that. I'm clear on that. I had reached the point. There was a point in my life, and I'll say this really quickly. There was a point in my life when I was afraid to love because people were dying. And I thought, oh, I can't deal with this pain. Oh my God, I can't deal with this pain. And I came to understand that I need every one of these people in physical life for me. I have the thoughts, the memories, and realizing that every time I bring one up, think of one, their life is still here because it's part of my life. It's part of my life. This is not in my notes, needless to say. But I wanted to make this clear distinction because A Course in Miracles students, I know a Course in Miracles teacher, actually, who will debate, science of mind, wants to debate science of mind and A Course in Miracles. And there's no debate. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I cannot do that. That for me is an ego tactic. I'm not doing that. I'm just not. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I'll share my screen again. That all things produce, A Course in Miracles, there are no idle thoughts. All thinking produces form at some level. And the Course continues, the world you see is what you gave it. Nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. That's what I mean about this laptop having meaning for me. The car the phone that I listen to, ACIM gather radio, which has meaning to me. I listen to my car that has meaning. These things that I've given meaning to. Therefore, the course says it is important to you because it's not more than that, but it's not less. Therefore, to you, it is important. To me, it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind. The world you see is the witness to your state of mind. It is the outside picture of an inward condition. But conditions, let's be clear, are still effects. It's saying inward, but not inward like, the Holy Spirit is in you, not that inward part of it. It's that ego, which is also in you, or the belief that there is an ego is in you, is in me. Because that's what sees the world, this physical world. It's temporary, it's tangible, it's got to go. At some point, it's got to go. The world that we see, the thinking of the form that we have made as a result of our thoughts, and I said made, not created, because what's created is permanent. Now, there, as in the reading, it may say creation, and I'm talking about in the reading in the science of mind, it may say creation, it may say made, but it's we're all talking the same thing. If we're talking from spirit, we're talking creation. If we're talking from the tangible, then we're talking what's made. But it is all related. It is all related. I can't say that the God in me recognizes the God in you. When I say that, I'm starting with the body. The God in me, I'm talking about the spiritual, the invisible spiritual nature. But I'm saying that is recognizing when when I say you, I'm talking to a body, I'm talking to a physical person saying that I am looking beyond that. The world I see is what I gave it. The world you see is what you gave it. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. So, and that's really, really important as I go along with this, because things will come up that's going to sound like I'm talking about, well, in the same with the infinite way. Joe Goldsmith makes it clear. It's all God. It is all God. And how can it not be? How can I not be able to say in words that I am not a body, I am free, that I am still as God created me? How would I even be able to say that if it were not for the fact that this body is involved? And I had found a Joel Goldsmith quote that I thought I was going to use today. I don't know where I put it, so it'll come up again. It'll come up. So back to, and then I'll be closing with the last. Actually, I wanted to play a song, and I just realized what time it is. So no, I guess I'm not going to play that song. And the words to the song are simply "God is, I am."
There's another 30 minutes open if you want to keep going.
Are you kidding?
No.
I can, but not necessarily from the notes. I'll stretch. I can stretch. Thank you, Lynn. I can stretch. Again, returning to what Ernest Holmes says about mind with a capital M. I'm going to share my screen. That mind, the thing, spirit, causation, is beyond and yet not beyond our grasp. And it's beyond in that it is so big. Remember, when we talk about God, we're talking about what's all encompassing. It is so big within in that wherever we grasp at it, we are it to the extent that we grasp it. In other words, the sleep of forgetfulness is the unwillingness to remember. And in those moments when we're not remembering, we are not recognizing it, God, what we are, the truth of what we are, spirit. In those moments when we're choosing to forget, we're not grasping at it. Wherever we grasp at it, we are it to the extent that we grasp it. And even that is in the section, and of course, it talks about littleness versus magnitude, that we little ourselves, we make ourselves small. We don't recognize our power. We don't recognize how great we really and truly are because we are focusing on this body, the limits that, I can't move from here. I can't move from in front of this computer, this temporary, this limited thing. This limited thing can't move from in front of this limited thing to be seen, physically seen on that limited thing that we're now calling ACIM gather. But for me to think that, I have to, this is it. After, whenever I stop between now and 11 o'clock, um, that whenever that I have to stay right here, that I'm limited, that I'm small. Oh my God. And what about the notes? And it was supposed to be purple and it was supposed to be blue. And all of this, making myself small, not recognizing my worth to the extent that I grasp it. To the extent that I recognize my worth, I am worthy. Even though in truth, I am worthy anyway. But my belief, remember, the world I see is the world, that's my world. But since it's infinite, we're talking about the allness of God, we can never encompass it, which is where in the first declaration, when the principle, it says that in the first part of the principle that reads absolute self-existent. No, the second part that reads it manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by it. It's not absorbed by it. So it's infinite. We can never encompass it. We can't understand God. I love back to Joe Goldsmith, who says that we can't define God. And that's important because to define something is to box it in, to enclose it, to make it as big as the screen on my computer. We can never encompass God, but we shall always be in God and of God. We live, move, and have our being in God. The Course calls it, the Science of Mind text refers to it as mind also, capital M. We live, move, and have our being in this capital M mind, the mind of God that we read in I believe it was workbook lesson, I want to say 46, but I'm not sure. I'm going to check right now. That uses the capital M mind in the workbook lesson 45. Stop share for a moment so that I can share again from the Course. Workbook lesson 45 which in paragraph 2 says, well, no, workbook lesson 45, that God is the capital M mind, which I think, with which I think, the same mind. Of course, it has to be the same mind. I'm being real clear here. There is no separation, period. It doesn't matter that one book is called this and another book is called that. It's still universal. It's still one. God is the capital M mind, which with which I think. You think with the mind of God. Therefore, you share your thoughts with God, and God shares its thoughts with you. They are the same thoughts because they are thought by the same mind. Your thoughts are in the mind of God. The thoughts of God don't leave your mind because ideas can't leave their source. It's all just one. I keep saying universal theology, and I keep not saying that right, and I want to say it correctly. Um, in the clarification of terms, it says a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible but necessary, which Ernest Holmes states where in one of the Declaration of Beliefs, and one of the beliefs that that we are all that it's within us, and that we all experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. A universal experience is necessary. I'm gonna have to pull that quote out of here because I keep misquoting it and I want to quote it correctly henceforth. Yeah. So stop share again. It's all with the mind of God. One mind, just one mind, just one mind, just one capital M mind. And I find it interesting. It just comes to me that when someone says that they've lost their mind, what does that mean? That someone has lost their mind? That they claim that um, that they lost their mind. They didn't know what they were doing. They um, stepped out of themselves. Whatever. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. We talk about we talk about well, you know what? As I'm saying it, you know, the ego thought system is trying to do is one thing, and the Holy Spirit is saying, yo, wait, come back, come back, come back. The sleep of forgetfulness is the unwillingness to remember. So if I'm not remembering, if I, have these blackouts, I know people that have blackouts as far as anger is concerned. They say that they don't have no recall. The sleep of forgetfulness. I'm going to leave that alone because I'm just wandering through thoughts right now. I'm wandering through thoughts. I can read a little bit more, but I do want to play a song by Eddie Watkins Jr. Um, which I now have to find. I'll look for that while I'm reading. I'm going to read a little bit more from Living the Science of Mind. It says okay, so I was saying that the science of mind is intensely practical because it teaches us how to use the mind principles for definite purposes. We must not only be conscious of power, but we must be actively conscious of it. Not only recognize that we have the power, but we have to be conscious of the power itself. That's conscious of the power itself. The power already exists. but the existence of power is of no particular value to us unless we use it. This science is more than mental. It is also spiritual, since we live in a spiritual universe. The science of mind declares the truth, capital T, about this spiritual universe, and it also declares the truth about false belief, considering everything which is opposed to capital G good as an accumulation of human thought, the collective negative suggestion of the race. And that is, you know how people talk about this flu season, you know, I just this is my time. I just know I'm going to catch it because it's flu season. Call it race consciousness, where everybody is is saying the same thing to the point we believe it. That's where our systemic racism comes from too. We tend to believe, unless we have the experience to know that it's different. Um, we tend to follow the crowd. We forget that bigger, greater than all that is God. We forget. All right, I gotta find this song. I'm talking while I'm searching. Um, we forget the sleep of forgetfulness. It takes us to places. All right, I'm gonna have to go on YouTube. I was hoping not to, but I'm gonna have to go on YouTube. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust the God in us. We get carried away with the effects, the things that we see, and we're being given opportunities over and over and over. As the course asks, how many opportunities we have had to gladden ourselves. But no, we follow the fly. Oh yeah, and God is the mind with which I think. Oh, what's that happening over there? Oh yeah, nothing I see means anything. That doggone this, that, and the other. We're getting ourselves all caught. We get ourselves all caught up. Eddie. Um, we get ourselves all caught up. Oh, that's a good song too, but that's not the one I want. Um, all caught up in the things out here, the stories that we're making up, all these forms. We make them so important to us. We forget. We forget. And we're constantly asked to engage with God, to recognize that God is what we are. We forget. And why? Why do we choose to be in misery? Why do we choose to be in pain? Why? It's insanity. The course makes it clear. It's insanity. It is insanity. We go from one situation to another thinking that this is the way it's supposed to be. It should be this way, and you should act that way, and the stuff that's going on in this world. I can't believe this is happening. I just can't believe it. I believe it. I see it. I accept it, and that's really the key of it all. It's learning to accept. What could you not accept? Workbook lesson 135 keeps reminding us, what could you not accept if you but knew? That everything. It's funny how I'm typing and not accept, but the word's not coming up right. Um, Not coming up right at all. What could you not accept? How come this isn't happening for me? Um, so my so the my Course in Miracles app is acting strangely, and that's fine. I'm not surprised. Anything can happen at any time, but I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved. Oh, how about if I spell accept right? That would help. Um, what could you not accept? Over and over, we're asked, what could you not accept? What could you not accept? Why not accept? What is the problem we have with accepting? Why do we choose to live in denial? Why do we think that we are an ego? Why do we think that we are an ego? You will never hear me say my ego. You'll never, ever, ever hear me say my ego. You'll always hear me say the ego thought system, the ego thought system, the ego thought system, Holy Spirit thought system. I'm very clear that these are things of thought. We're talking about training my mind. We're talking about thought. Learning how to think. To learn how to think is to learn how to live. Recognizing it's an ego thought system. It's not real, that only my allegiance to it makes it real. My allegiance to the boogeyman, my allegiance to Cujo makes them real. It's not real. It's not real. And evidenced by, if I'm feeling fear, then I'm not recognizing the truth of what God is. I'm making it up. Just made up stuff, causing myself pain. What could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good. Perhaps you have misunderstood his plan. He would never offer pain to you. But we see things, we say, oh my God, that hurts. That hurts. But what if we had never been taught that? I'm not talking about the baby as when we were babies and we fall and hurt our butt. Ouch. I'm not talking about that. What if we had never been taught that people being killed or just all that stuff. Examples, you can come up with a million of them. What if we had not been taught that hurts? What if we had not been taught that because somebody's body ceases to be, that hurts? Would we know that already? I don't believe so, because we're domesticated. When Miguel Ruiz in his book, The Four Agreements, he talks about that, our domestication. We are taught the things that we think and believe. And in Science of Mind, we're taught to look at that very thing, to recognize that our thoughts lead to our feelings to combine to our beliefs, and then our beliefs, and then to our actions, how we choose to live. So of course we have to go back to our thoughts, because the untrained mind knows nothing. To learn how to live, to learn how to think, is to learn how to live. I'm going to play a song. Before I do, um, I thought I was going to play a song. Where did it go? I see it. Ernest Holmes writes, when you say God is all there is, that includes everything, all possibility and all action. For spirit is the invisible essence and substance of all form. Now, that sounds slightly different from the Course, but back to all thoughts produce form at some level. And if the thoughts I think are the thoughts that, if my thoughts and God's thoughts are one, then for me, that makes sense. When you say God is all there is, that includes everything, everything, all possibility and all action. For spirit, with a capital S, is the invisible essence and substance of all form. The science of mind reveals that every man is a potential Christ. Every man has inherent God power within him. And how could this God power be used other than through his thought? Since it would be impossible for a man to act as an intelligent being unless he could first think, the very idea of man supposes a center of consciousness, a center of thought activity. The science of mind reveals that this center of God activity within each one is a complete and unique manifestation of the parent mind, capital P, capital M, that the power of God does actually exist in man. So what God is what I am. What I am is what God is. Let's see if I get this right. Nope, that I meant to share. I'm working it out. Let me go back to the internet. There we go. Now share my screen. Everything that God is what I am. Everything that God is what I am. It's what we are.
God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am.
And that's all the words.
God is,
God is,
I
I
am,
am,
right here,
right here,
right now,
right now,
right here,
right here,
right now.
right now.
God
God is,
I
I am, God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am, God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. I can stretch this 7 more minutes if you like, Lynn, or I can turn it over to you.
I can take it, Zuma. I
All right.
appreciate you so much.
I thank
Thank you,
you. I
thank
thank
you.
you.
And
So
so grateful to have you on here on